Could the speakers for the next panel come up? My friend Dimitris is the moderator. So in the conference terms, you have a hierarchy. You have the master of ceremony, which is me here, the moderator, and somewhere in between God. So anyway.
Thank you. That's the greatest introduction I've ever had. Hello, everybody. Having a panel session right after lunch, that's the best thing one could ever think. Marine, I think it would be great. Ah, excellent. So, hello. Thank you for joining us once again. What we'll talk about? This time, we dive into another discussion right after lunch. We have hosts from all the 4 projects of today's event. And we will focus on a topic that lies in the very heart of our collective mission. And that has to do with our legacy. So how can we replicate, let's say, the findings, the outputs, the outcomes of our projects, and leveraging these assets, how can we move more towards a more like sustainable energy future? So before getting into it, all these projects, we've developed new tools, resources, knowledge, policy briefs. And now that the curtain falls, let's say, we want to reflect on what we leave behind, and the question that arises is, what comes next? So based on our assets, we've spread the word. All these projects, they have supported initiatives towards this transition. And now what we want to do within this next hour, let's say, is to, first of all, have some really quick presentations, more like pitch presentations. So we'll have 5 minutes for each project to more like talk about some specific assets and focus on their impact. So that's more like reflect on the legacy. And then we'd like to spend the remaining, hopefully, like half an hour for more like a discussion on how we could more effectively identify either lessons or steps for more effectively moving towards not just a more sustainable, but also more inclusive energy future. That being said, I'm Dimitris. Thank you, Yanni, for the introduction. I have a PhD in chemical engineering. A few words about me. I'm a senior project manager at White Research, a Brussels-based research consultancy. And what we do over the last years is we deal with the conceptualization, acquisition, and implementation of research projects. Talking about projects, we're happy to serve as coordinators of BECoop, but this topic is really close to our heart as well. We've all seen these exploitation deliverables at the end of each project. We've all used, more or less, the word legacy, but perhaps this is an opportunity to better reflect on the new rounds of projects to come, on how, instead of reinventing the wheel or starting from scratch, we can somehow establish all the synergies that are already on the table. Enough said, we have a pool of friends and guests. I will say the names, and I think it would be nice if you could come upstairs, like Yannis is already over there. I'll just say your names, and I'll give you the floor for your pitch presentation, so I can briefly introduce you each time. And if I say anything wrong, blame me and you can correct. So we have Yannis, we have Kostas, we have Paco, and we have Stefan. So please join us. And Sylvia, but I think Sylvia, she couldn't join us. Yeah. I need to now change the microphone and... Thank you. Excellent. So let's start with a quick round presentation. So we start with Yannis Kostas. I don't have anything... Paco, you'd like to start? Paco starts. You start. You want to start. You're going to go first. Who wants to start? Let's take it. You want to be first, I understood, or not? Huh?
I'll speak
okay,
first.
all right. So we'll follow the order as in the agenda. So we start with Yanis. I don't have any cheesy joke as an intro, but I can say a few words about Yanis as a colleague. I know him. I have the pleasure of knowing him. So Yanis represents We4S. He's a project manager at Qplan with more than 20 years of experience in research, education, and international projects. He's an expert in innovation management, exploitation, quality assurance, and capacity building in fields such as energy, ICT, and sustainable development. And as project coordinator of We4S, he'll say a few words about our way to an inclusive energy transition. So Yanis, please.
Thank you, Dimitris. Actually, it is a tough act to follow after 2 whole days of very interesting presentations, and even a tougher task to follow after the previous panel where we had the actual cases. Our projects are market uptake projects. That means that we want to spread the deployment of actual technologies, of practices, of ideas in practice. So coming after the presentation of the real life is indeed a very tough act to follow. I had some notes to say various things that were not able to be covered. So I will skip the PowerPoint presentation, and I will share with you 3 or 4 thoughts. So what I consider as a valuable legacy from W4S, Women4S. The first one has to do with the delivery, how we designed and how we implemented the project. And what really worked is that instead of coming a top-down approach, we did a bottom-up approach that every single step on the way, we went to the market, we went to the societies, we went to the sector, we scouted, we engaged, we came to contact, we discussed, we interviewed, we identified successful cases, and then, again, we took this material, we did our research, and then we went back again to the societies, talked to them, exchanged ideas, and started building all the processes, the measures, the support, the raising awareness, and all this stuff. And we did it once, and then we went back again to them to discuss what we found. And I think there is nothing more important than projects that actually talk with our societies, talk with the stakeholders, not just for the sake of satisfying a European Commission requirements or whatever. I think it's really, really valuable. And it's valuable at 2 levels, that what we offer is essentially actually what is in need. And the second thing is empowerment. We feel alienated in our modern lives from decisions that are made somewhere else by other people. And the EU largely is being blamed for everything, where in reality, a lot of money is spent to listen what society wants. And this is what we did in W4S. And I'm so, so proud. Elspeth earlier presented the recommendations, and I could think the specific occasions that people were saying to us the particular things about funding for women, about the problems that exist with stereotypes, about the leadership cases. And I can remember the people that we actually talk. And I think this way works. This is a valuable legacy that comes from W4S, especially with a particular approach that has to do with the hubs, that has to do with the analysis, the intermediary that stays in close contact with the awardees, making sure that we will provide what they actually need. And I'm so, so proud when we got the evaluations, and in all cases were really, really important. Now, this is about the methodology. This is something like, it can go everywhere. The second part has to do about W4S. W4S, when you actually come across it the first time, you might think, or some people think, some bad people will think, this is a project where they spend the taxpayers' money. They do nothing. No. It's exactly the opposite. This is a project that every single cent that was spent went to real needs to support and come up all these excellent cases that we had the opportunity to present. And only one we presented today. We had other as well. And these ones are valuable because they will act at catalysts in local societies for more and more cases to come up. And I can tell you, from the 56 projects we supported, and in technicalities, we could have claimed that we supported more than 60. But we are true to our word. We supported completely 56. We offered to them gender audits, additional tools to make sure that we spread gender mainstreaming tools as far as possible. In the capacity building, we made another choice. We could organize 8 seminars with external experts, but we chose to do a train the trainers operation where the 8 hubs actually learned how to replicate again and again similar trainings. So we didn't do once per hub, but we have enabled 8 different hubs to do it 1,000 times more, up to the point where projects like that will not be necessary. Our PO asked us during the interim review for how long projects like that will be necessary. And the answer, I think we will tell here in review, would be, unfortunately, we're going to need them for some time now. And we should not spend any more time and spreading the word that we need, first of all, to empower women to accelerate the energy transition. Empowerment of women will happen. By the end of the century, which I said earlier, I'm absolutely certain that women will have the upper hand, which is a good thing. But the energy transition, we don't have that time. We have to act now. And doing so, we have to take into account as fast as possible. Now, the last observation is about men. What about men and the energy transition? What about men and female empowerment? Well, and this was something that was discussed in various phases during the project, is that gender mainstreaming, gender issues is not a female-only issue. It's an issue where men can be either part of the problem or part of the solution. They have an equal share in society, and they have an equal share of profit once women take their role in society that they deserve in more than one ways. So, just a few thoughts here and there. But this is things that are not easily identified in the deliverables, but is the great legacy that I see that came up from the particular project and that will actually produce many more results in the years to come, most probably in ways that are not easily identified, but more crucially, that will have an actual impact in our lives. And that's it.
Thanks a lot, Yanis. As we said, we will have the time for a more thorough discussion. We will have some questions posed in the latter session of this panel. So moving on next, we have Kostas Dasopoulos representing BECoop. No? Okay. We'll now have a new order, and we'll have Paco. Sorry. So we have Paco Carrasco from EcoSurveys representing Upstairs. Paco's work has focused on the alleviation of energy poverty. He's currently working in EcoSurveys, building links between energy and citizenship through the promotion of community energy initiatives. So I understand that Paco will talk about the one-stop shops for enabling energy communities. So Paco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dimitrios. So when we were asked that we had to present a key output of the project, a tool itself, we were like, well, we don't really have one key output. We have calculators, we have digital tools, we have trainings and so on. So we had to broaden a little bit our approach, and we wanted to present what has been done in the project, which is the one-stop shops that you have been hearing from today. So the idea from today, is it working? Yes. So first of all, we wanted to explore what is the role of public authorities in the energy transition. No one really knows, or everyone thinks they have a crucial role, but they don't know the right way to go, or they are, I don't know, kicking the ball all the directions to see, or firing at every direction. So here we wanted to focus on why the public authorities should promote one-stop shops. Yesterday we had a super interesting lecture or presentation by BECoop in which they have kind of identified some barriers for energy communities or energy cooperatives, which are, okay, to what extent are they going now? Of course, they have a lot of potential to be tapped, but to what extent are they getting? You know, only some parts of the citizens, of the population, have the ability or the privilege to be part of those communities. So the public authorities can step in and make this energy transition more diverse and include also energy poverty households in this energy transition by providing information, by providing support, by providing accompaniment to all these projects. So here in the Upstairs project as EcoSurveys, we were leading the business model development. So we were developing a standardized framework that then could be replicated. And of course, it was also tailored to each of our pilots. So here you can see on the left part, I don't see it myself, so all the phases that a public administration, a public authority has to go through to create a one-stop shop. And here there's a clear thing that we identified 3 levels of ambition, which is crucial. Our take-home message is be realistic from the beginning, because then you are shooting at the sky and then you realize what you actually can do and what your resources are. So don't be too ambitious, just be honest about what you can do. And there are 3 levels of the outreach, which is, the first one would be the information. Quite easy, we have been doing for years now in Europe, just provide information to citizens about energy communities, energy cooperatives, PV, energy, auditing, renovation, or whatever. Then there is the advice, which is tailored to this. PV, okay, I have this rooftop, please, can you give me some more information? Well, that's what we call advice, not information anymore. And then there's the support to certain projects. If in our OSSs we had a member of a group or a group itself that came to us, we could support this project. That was the maximum outreach of the one-stop shop. And then, of course, one-stop shops also need to define the fields they will be working on. Here you can see some of them. Of course, we have the most obvious ones for energy communities, which are financial, legal, and technical, but there are also many others that are usually being neglected in one-stop shops, such as the ones on the right part of the screen, which are, of course, a lot more difficult to give support in, which could be organizational support. How are we going to organize? We haven't done this. In our case, in the pilot area of Barcelona, it's a metropolitan area, so social cohesion is not a thing. So how are we really going to organize members and neighbors into becoming an energy community? Then we have the communication, not only to spread the word, but also to be able to include everyone in these communications. And last but not least, we have facilitation and mediation. If in multifamily buildings we are already discussing on, I don't know, fix up the elevator or the dog poo, we really need someone to help us mediate, to properly engage in the energy transition and become part of it through energy communities. I wanted to give a super quick overview of these services, these key tools that have been implemented in the different areas. We have 5 different ones right now. We have Cork City Council, we have Barcelona, well, you can see the map. We have also ESB in the Upper Austria region, and then we have 2 in Bulgaria that I'm sure Ivanka presented before. But I wanted to give the key facts about each of these one-stop shops. So the Cork one-stop shop has been running since June 22, and about the maximum reach that I was mentioning, what they have found is that they didn't have the resources to implement it in the city hall, so they had this extra office, so that was a crucial part of their strategy, to identify this lack of resources, and that they would actually interpellate the citizens by placing this office in the middle or next to a park where citizens usually go back and forth, not inside of the city hall, which I don't know how many of you have been in the city hall if you are not part of the city hall, but not many, let's be honest. So that was kind of their strategy. They have right now, if I'm not mistaken, 8 people working it, and most of the services they are being asked is about, of course, energy efficiency and PV. People are still not going there, oh, come on, I want to build an energy community, but well, they're getting there, they're getting interested in energy PV, they get audits of energy PV, they get support in it. On the second hand, we have the Barcelona metropolitan area, which was it was our biggest pilot region. The aim is to set up 25 one-stop shops, and then as any municipality, they plan to create an online one-stop shop that the aim is to create these tools, these resources, to ensure that all these small municipalities have the ability to provide this support. They have been focusing mainly on PV, energy efficiency is still homework to do in Spain, let's be honest. So they are starting with the sexy part, which is PV photovoltaics, of course with a shared self-consumption approach. And so far the reach has been over 1,000 people already. Then on the third spot we have Upper Austria. It was one of the most advanced of our pilot regions. From scratch they knew they wanted to focus only on energy communities, and that's what they have been doing. They are the ones that have the maximum reach in our case. They have the presidential office, and they are focusing on just dynamizing energy communities that approach their one-stop shop. And last but not least, I have put these two in the same slide because they have kind of a similar setup. We have a Senograd, which they have quite a particular context. They are focusing on these multifamily buildings, prefabricated panel buildings, in which they are focusing not on the PV communitarian part, of course the secondary part, but on the renovation aspects that, because there's a lot of potential to renovate, for example, I don't know if that's the right word in English, but central utilities or central heating appliances and so on. So they are focusing more on the communitarian part of the renovation, which is super interesting, and the other pilots had a lot to learn, that's for sure. And we have Rhodope region that joined the project recently, and they are following the same approach as Zenofgrad. So what did all these five have in common, because they truly don't have that much in common, is that they found that one of the biggest challenges was capacity building. So for capacity building, the project had planned quite in-depth training that took place here. I believe over more than 100 public servants were trained. Only in the Barcelona pilot area, over 90 were trained. This has been identified as one of the key things to do before you start setting up an OSS. Identify what are the knowledge gaps in your municipality, because for sure there are. You cannot ask any public servant to give advice on social aspects, on dynamization, on technical, on legal. They will look the other way around straight away. So you had to first plan all this training or capacity building program before opening your one-stop shop. And this is what has been going here. From some of the lessons learned from this training program is to do a bit of an holistic approach and mix between presential, online, PV visits, and so on and so on. So this is, and I'm sure they mentioned it, but please look up our website, but also our Twitter. In there we have super interesting information in which you can find each of our pilot areas. What are they focusing? What are the challenges that they had to face? What are the services they are offering? And so on and so on. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paco. And that was a really comprehensive presentation, so thanks a lot for that. So that was upstairs, and now we move on to two more presentations. Before I give the floor to Stefan, let me tell you that just in an attempt to also keep you awake and energized, after we finish this quick presentation, I think it's fair to give the floor to the audience. So perhaps while we have these presentations going on, it would be nice if you would like to think of something to pose as a question, more like towards the legacy of the projects that we're talking about today. So let's welcome Stefan Kopp from Spectral, representing Energy to Peers. So Stefan is the leader of the energy consultancy team at Spectral in Amsterdam, right? So Spectral uses technology to make energy trading smart and boost energy efficiency in buildings. So Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so I was going to do this presentation together with our partner Sylvia, but unfortunately she couldn't make it today, so I have to present some of her slides, but I think I can manage. Here's an overview of what we've been doing with Energy to Peers, like also Simona presented this morning. And when talking about our legacy, we have a lot of things to offer, but for this presentation we want to focus on the various digital tools that we developed. So I will highlight two of them in this short presentation, being the readiness level indicator tool and the advisory app. Both are already online and can be used by everyone who wants to. I will share the link in a bit. But before we developed the tool, we first had an extensive exercise in actually defining the framework. So this was more from like a researchy point of view. where we needed to define like what makes an energy community ready for peer-to-peer energy trading. Yeah, what we found here already is the peer-to-peer part is quite complex to comprehend. It's kind of like a fancy buzzword, so we made it a bit broader. But just in general, like also Ilke presented in his presentation, like an energy community, there are various aspects. And what we wanted to create with this tool was a way for energy communities to assess to what extent they are ready to become an energy community, to do smart things with energy, but also to give them advice on what steps they still need to make in order to get there. So first, very multidisciplinary approach, where like these various categories came out of. And then we actually translated this in an online tool, which can be found on energypeers.net. So on the right, you see a small demo of the tool being used. It can be seen as kind of like a questionnaire on the various aspects, so user, organizational, technical, and infrastructural readiness. The target audience is mainly energy communities, so upcoming energy communities, already existing energy communities, but also policymakers. And this is really like a quick and easy way for users to fill in the questionnaire. It's an interactive questionnaire, so depending on the answer you give, you get either more questions or some specific questions and advice in between. And in the end, you get also a report, so a score based on different categories that you assessed. And also like a written report with remarks, with potential for improvements. So this is one of the tools, and I want to invite all of you to also try it out with your energy community. There's also the advisory app, and the advisory app, like the name suggests, it's to give advice, but we made it a bit broader. It's actually a community of communities. So there's a lot of knowledge in all sorts of energy communities. So like the presentation of Schoon Schip, it's a really good example in the Netherlands. And they're already getting a lot of questions from new upcoming energy communities, like how did you approach this, how did you do this? And this is quite extensive if you have to answer all these questions. And with the advisory app, we wanted to create one open space where everybody can share their knowledge. So kind of like a forum dedicated for energy communities and experts. So also all the members of the Energy Peers project, they are active on the forum, some more than others. But yeah, so we have questions like Q&As, and then that knowledge is open for everybody. So also for this one, I invite all of you to take a look around, to create an account. And if you're part of an energy community, you can also create your own community page with information of your community. And if you've also done the readiness level indicator, you can link it to your profile. So you see your scores, and if you want to, you can also compare your community towards other communities, and thereby learn from each other, see who you need to reach out, like, oh, he's scoring higher, let's talk to them to see if we can learn from them. And then the last part, participatory assessment. So what we've done along the way in developing these tools was like going out there, talk with pilot sites that are part of the Energy Peers community, and in various rounds actually make the tools better, more suitable for the for the users. And I think that's it.
That's rather impressive. That's 5 minutes sharp. Let's give a round of applause. Stefan, I think the applause is not because you were on time, which is okay. Some people might not. I was not on time when I had the chance to talk, but I think this was a super sharp and concrete presentation of the project assets, and I think this is a good basis for the discussion later on. So moving on next, our final speaker is Kostas Dasopoulos. Kostas represents BECoop. And I have a few words about Kostas. He's an environmental engineer with a strong background in sustainable development and renewable energy. Kostas, like Yanis, they work for Qplan. He's an EU project manager. and his fields of expertise include green entrepreneurship, circular economy, clean energy transition, and environmental sustainability. And I believe Kostas will talk about the adjusted business model canvas that was developed in the framework of BECoop. So please, Kostas, you have at least 5 minutes.
Correct, Dimitris. Thank you very much for the introduction. I hope you are not very tired and you will pay attention to the last presentation. So, as Dimitris mentioned, I'm going to present you the business model canvas that we developed in the framework of the BECoop project. In general, as BECoop, we supported 4 pilot cases in order to help them into developing new energy communities or kickstarting their new activities or also to expand their business activities. And we had 4 pilot cases, 1 in Greece, 1 in Italy, 1 in Spain, and 1 in Poland, and we provided them mainly business and technical support services. And we developed the particular business model canvas where we tried to incorporate both aspects, and the business and the technical results, in one place, as you can see. The presentation actually is very short. I have only 3 slides. Here, I'm going to present you the methodology that we followed in order to develop the particular sustainable business model. So, as you can see from the figure, we took inputs from the first work package of our project, which was basically the research phase, where we analyzed the framework conditions and the particular local conditions that are in each country related to biomass potential, bioenergy, and energy communities. And as you can see, we also gathered a lot of successful energy community cases, and for that purpose, of course, we didn't search only energy communities that are related in the bioenergy field, but we also checked energy communities that are active also in solar energy, wind energy, hydro, etc. And we stepped into the existing RESCOOP governance model in order to develop 5 prototype business models. And as you can see, we have the local group of citizens, we have regional, national RESCOOPs, the network of RESCOOPs, and the multi-stakeholder governance. These are particular different kinds of governance of energy community where we translated these governance models into real business models. And as you can see here, this is the canvas that we developed. This is complete by the Greek case, the pilot case in Karditsa, like Vasilis had the previous presentation. And I will try to explain it very briefly. So this business model is being divided in 3 main categories. The first one, and what we tried to do actually, was to build a sound business case for the particular energy community. So we analyzed the problem. We try to translate the problem into a practical solution and how we will support the solution by assessing who are the key partners that must be involved on that, what are the main key activities of the energy community, what are its key resources that the energy community needs to utilize in order to implement the particular bioenergy heating project, what are the value propositions of the particular energy community, and how the customer and the membership relation and segmentation is taking place. I would like also to mention that the support that we provided to our communities were based on particular projects. And the particular projects had to do about the installation of 20 biomass boilers in the public buildings of the area of Karditsa. So the second stage, or the second category, let's say, of the business model is the cost-benefit analysis, where we structured the cost analysis and we made a calculation of the capital and the operational expenditures. As you can see in the middle, we have also the subsidization, so we analyze the possibilities of the possible funding and financial resources. And on the right side, with the green one, we have the calculation of the revenue streams, where we also made an estimation of the critical financial indicators, which also assess the possibility if the particular project must go on or not. And because we structured this business model and we made it as a sustainable business one, we incorporated environmental and social dimensions. So we analyzed both the environmental and social risks, and we also demonstrated the environmental and the social benefits, because it was very important also to show not only the economic benefits of the particular project, but also the sustainability aspects of the environmental ones and socials. And in the last slide, you can see just the results of the investment planning that we did for the particular case. And as you can see, this project appears to be quite profitable, with a payback period of only 4 years. And you can also see the calculation of the financial indicators like the net present value, the return on investment, payback period, and the internal rate of return. And I would like also to mention that also the other cases, of course, of BECoop were very successful and very profitable. And this is like a tool, like the legacy of the project, to have a sound business plan that has the results of both the business analysis and the technical one. The technical one took place with our friends from CERT. And we provided these energy community cases with a document which is like a tool that they can use it for the development and the real implementation of their bioenergy heating projects. That was my presentation. I hope you like it. And if you want to learn more about the development of the case, not only the Greek case and also the other cases of BECoop, you are more than welcome to reach me or my colleagues there. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Kostas. So that was the first round of some brief introductions. I think that by now, more or less, we have a good understanding of what these projects were about. I think we have a good understanding of the project assets. And again, I'd like to give the floor to the audience to pose a question, but if you could allow me to pose the first question, perhaps just to try and share the perspective that we want to examine in this very panel. We've understood that there are many tools, or let's call them assets and resources. Not all of them can be categorized as tools that are already in place. And at the same time, in previous sessions, we had some moments of inspiration. I'm talking, for example, about the wood residuals and coffee residuals in a second, Kardica from BECoop. I also really like the Sean Sheep, if I mention it the right way, from LK in Energy to Peers. And I have to admit, even though I'm somehow involved in this project, every now and then I get exposed to some really good cases that I was not aware of. And I can think that these cases and these communities or these initiatives that are now, they're now making their first steps, it would really make a sense for them to be exposed to our tools. So we have the inspiration. There are cases that sometimes they also struggle. And at the same time, we have 4 successful projects that they've reached the KPIs. We will soon have our final review meeting and everything will be okay. And then the question that arises is, okay, what about the exploitation? Usually in Horizon, that's a deliverable, a standard deliverable, and we write things there, and I never underestimate it, but I'd like to give the floor to you. And perhaps my first question, before giving you the floor, has to do, I'll just try to put it in simple words. I've once heard the term tools cemetery. We have all heard of projects where, you develop tools and then after 1 year or so, you somehow forget about it. And sometimes you're even a partner of the very own project. So the question that arises is, could you please take 1 or 2 minutes? And again, the question is optional. It depends on the assets and the tools, obviously. But I think it would be beneficial also for the audience if you could give us a few words on the exploitation of your assets. How long will these tools remain online? Are they easy to be found, not just from us, but also from other initiatives out there? So that would be the question. And I mean, it's up to you. You can freely answer. Stefan, okay, Stefan, please, yeah.
For our tools, this has been an important question indeed, like not just getting the checkboxes for the European Commission, but also making difference with your tools. So far, the readiness level indicator tool has been found outside of the Energy Peers project, but not to the extent that we would like to. So that was also one of our lessons learned, to make that really a part of your process already from the start. Like, how are you going to get this also adopted outside of in our case, the 3-year project? So we will support the tools. But for example, for the Dutch case, some of the partners are from the Netherlands. We are looking for local partners to adopt the tool. And we got now one party yeah, we're quite far in the process, so we hope that they will yeah, continue on that and on that tool. And for the advisory app, I think there's a lot of interest, but indeed the challenge is to make people aware that it's out there. So you need a certain mass. So hopefully also today with all of you guys going to the website, tell it around, and then it will grow and grow.
Yes, in the AppSource projects, so there are two sides, the replication and the exploitation. In the exploitation side, we are super happy to say that most of our OSSs will continue going. It has taken a lot to build them, so it would be a bit of a shame for them not to keep going. In the case of Upper Austria, for example, they will incorporate it in their services, so the OSS will keep going. It's the same for the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and they actually have, we actually have a follow-up project to ensure that the OSS addresses the long-term sustainability of energy communities, not only the implementation, but the long-term sustainability. In the case of Cork, they will try to go online by the end of the year because we develop a digital platform. And in the case of Asenofgrad and Relope, they will remain there for at least 2 years. So that's great news for our project. It won't end there. And regarding replication, we're also, fortunately or unfortunately, one of our pilots dropped out, so we had to mid-project restart another pilot. So that was kind of a hard test to see if our tools were easy to replicate. And following the deliverables, the guides, the roadmap that we had created, Relope was, and of course with the help of Asenofgrad, Relope was able to replicate this project. So we have all the deliverables. Coming soon, there's a guide on how to run an OSS. So we are quite confident that any other municipality in Europe could use those products or those outputs and develop their own SS, tailored to their specific needs, of course.
Clear. Thanks a lot, Pato. Jose, you'd like to answer as well?
Yes.
All right.
As you know better than me, Dimitris, as the coordinator of BECoop, in our project we have developed a lot of tools where you can find them online. We have developed a particular platform. It is called the Knowledge Exchange Platform, which it will remain online for at least 2 more years after the termination of our project. And on the particular platform, you can find all the material that is available, the project deliverables, some other reports, a lot of tools that are useful from other European projects, and there is also a network where there were a lot of stakeholders, and you can see the exchange of the opinions that we had, and how structured was also the mentoring sessions of our project. Now regarding the real legacy, I will mention, like in my presentation, the most critical point was that we provided with our cases the business plans in combination with the feasibility studies that can help energy communities to create actually an energy community, so to start from the zero. Also energy communities to kickstart their activities when they have done almost nothing. And we can also help energy communities that they already had a lot of projects, also to develop new projects in another field, such as, for instance, bioenergy. And with these particular tools, if you can use it in combination and you check the particular deliverables and the business plans that we have developed, you can find a lot of useful material for the development of bioenergy heating projects, because we have done 4 analyses. The one is focused in a district heating plant. The other one is focused in a district heating plant with a combination of ecogeneration. So we are talking about both thermal and electrical energy. We have done also, like in Kardica, is the analysis of the installation of biomass boilers, and in the case of Poland, we had also the installation of biomass boilers in a residential level, but also the construction of a pellet plant. So, depending on the different kind of project, the particular energy communities can seek assistance or help from our project in order to develop their own bioenergy heating projects.
Would anyone like to pose a question in the framework of legacy? Yes, please. You can take the mic.
Peter Oppertveld, Huigen Engineers and Consultants. We are coordinator of Energy to Peers, but also quite some other projects. It's more a kind of a reflection. What I saw this day were presentations of several types of energy communities on biomass, on electricity, district heating, but I think one of the most essential remarks was made by Ilko Kingma from Schoonschip, that it is a community and electricity can be a part of that. And for example, it can also contain waste management, water management, you name it. And this brings me to another experience that I have, which I would like to share with you. We're also a coordinator of a project called Save the Homes. That's a project on integrated home renovation services. And there we collaborate with an energy community in one of our pilot locations, that's Rotterdam, and that's the energy community Alex Energy. But it's on implementing one-stop shop concepts for home renovation, to nudge the neighborhood to home renovation. And this is really a powerful combination. And the reason is simple, because all the members of the energy communities and the ones who initiated that, they are trusted by the neighborhood, rather than the community, the municipality of Rotterdam themselves. So I was wondering if any other location had that experiences. Then finally, that's more a question. Also the term one-stop shop concept was mentioned, and one-stop shops is concept is of course quite known from integrated home renovation services, also to nudge homeowners, to help owners, and to facilitate them to home renovation. What is the difference with a one-stop shop concept with energy communities, I was wondering?
I think you can answer the one-stop shop, and then perhaps a few examples back to your first point by the rest of the project. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can talk from the perspective of the Barcelona pilot region, because it's the one I have been most involved in. But I believe the difference is essentially in the fields I have been presenting. So one-stop shop that is dedicated to energy communities needs to address these fields. It cannot only go up to the technical aspects of renovation, of shared mobility, PV or whatever. It needs to go to organizational support, financing schemes, mediation, facilitation, and so on and so on. So in the Barcelona metropolitan area, of course, the first easy door to open was PV, but the next steps would be renovation and energy mobility. And one extra one that looks like a true challenge for the Barcelona metropolitan area is how to monetize in energy communities, or how to promote the reduction of energy use or energy efficiency within the energy communities, apart from the renovation. So how do you promote this reduction of consumption, and how do you monetize this? Thank you.
Thanks, Paco. Perhaps just a quick comment to the first point of yours. I do like when the energy community concept is well combined with the renovation issue, because I think this is one of the good examples where you can start by having a somehow established trust. So you don't need to focus that much on the social acceptance factor, because the benefit of the case is almost already clear from the very beginning. In our case, what I can say just briefly from the case of BECoop, I think what made a difference, because we still talk about projects that really have to do with renewables uptake, and the social acceptance factor is a huge one. So in the case of BECoop, when at the end, let's say in the case of Karditsa, in our Greek pilot, after building the pellets with the municipal wood residual and also with coffee residuals from the local shops, that they would voluntarily give us these residuals, because otherwise they would throw them away. So, by the way, that's also a point of circularity, and this is where we could also think of all these domains where we fit into. But the point is that we took these pellets, and these pellets were used to heat up schools during winter time. At the very beginning, they were quite hesitant with these new kind of technologies and the boilers, but at the end of the day, they gained a winter time of free heating that was based on their their residuals, and at the end, that was the main thing that left a local impact and really helped us a lot to address skepticism and improve acceptance. And that's why I think that all of these examples, they need to have something to reflect, something to leave behind, something that by the time that a new follow-up, hopefully, project comes in, you don't need to start digging from scratch, and you have like a continuity. Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Some people are, okay, we have 2 hands, all right. Chris, before coming back to you, we have a question back here.
Thank you. Didier Bosbeuf from ADEME, the French Agency for Ecological Transition. There were in several projects, you show some nice new technologies. These technologies are coming from China, Germany, Brazil for the coffee machine, or produced locally? This is my first question. Second, it's more a comment. 20 years ago, we implement 300 one-stop shop in France. So my question is, what is new in all your projects? It's because it's one-stop shop dedicated to communities, but I don't see why it's so different as what we have implemented in Europe for many years.
Just a comment about innovation. What's innovation? You take something that already exists and you use it in a different way. So yes, most probably one-stop shops are not a new thing, but every time that you apply and you adjust, this is a new thing. Even a slight change brings something new. So, and I'm not from that project, so.
Yeah, I would say there's nothing new on PV either. But we're all focusing on PV, on renewable, on renovation. It has been there for decades. It's now that we're focusing on this part of the energy transition, which can make the citizens take a vital part in this transition, so they are not left behind. So as you just said, you said it yourself, what's new on these one-stop shops is that they focus on energy communities and how can these actors play a key role in the energy transition. So I would say most citizens don't know what energy communities are, and this is just another way to get them to know them, to empower them, to train them, capacity building, and so on and so on. So yeah. Not my presentation.
Actually, this kind of importation is important. So as far as I know, there are a lot of biomass pellet boilers that they are coming from China, but also from Germany as well. The point is to find the correct manufacturer. We don't have to put limits, for instance, to take the biomass pellets only from Germany, for instance, and not from China. Now, regarding the hydrogen, I don't know. I suppose the manufacturers are from German. But in general, this kind of importation is something that's happening in the renewable energy field. And the great example is the solar panels that most of them are coming from China.
I can say that within our part of the BECoop, in our own pilot, we actively looked for local manufacturers first in our own region, then in our own country, and then within Europe. We've never looked at Japanese or Chinese or yeah. So because I agree with you, I think it's a very relevant issue. But that was not my question. Paco, it seems like everyone's focusing on you. Sorry. I think it was Ivanka already mentioned that a crucial aspect for the one-stop shops was that it had to be free for citizens. How can you see the sustainability of the business model if you're totally depending on public financing? If you're, it's an issue we struggle with as well. We try to provide the service like that, but we want to be independent from local funding. We still rely on it, but our business model in the long run is not built on having finance grants or other types of public funding, because that can disappear and just your business is gone. So could you comment on that, please?
Yes, in our case, we didn't focus on private business models, which it's totally legit. They need, at the end, they need to be positive. In our case, they were all public municipalities, and it's within their services that they provide the one-stop shop service. So the business model doesn't truly need to be positive, financially speaking. But yeah, I totally get that in your case, in a private cooperative, it needs to be positive, and you could at some point charge for it, and some other strategies in the business models is to create a marketplace in which you finance your one-stop shop by charging these suppliers from PV, engineering, renovation, and so on. That would make more sense. But in our case, we didn't go that way, because we had, for example, public servants at AMB, that they were the ones that were running the back office. Also, I would add that it's now the beginning for these energy communities focused one-stop shops. So it's a bit tricky. We don't have people rushing through the door to ask how to create an energy community. So we are in a stage in which we need to promote it. Later on, other business models, I'm sure, will be developed to make them sustainable in the long term.
Yes, now it's working. Sorry for that. Yeah, so I got very impressed by the great examples from the energy communities, and I was wondering to what extent you also discussed, like with the pilots you work with, how they can share their experiences, you know, and kind of spread it across, you know, your pilot regions or maybe national-wide, and to what extent also the tools you have been developed can be even used and applied maybe by the energy communities to, you know, spread the word and, you know, replicate it to other areas. So as we also like said before, it might be very important that it's more like the local people, you know, driving the change and spreading the word. So what do you see as the role maybe of your pilots? Like, are they now ready maybe to go out and to take maybe even a bigger role? Is that maybe also a business model that they can get in and, you know, share their knowledge and their experiences that others can come and visit? Because I know some of you also went, right, to see how they kind of gonna do it. So I would like to hear maybe, yeah, your thoughts on that replication aspect.
Thank you.
I think that was one of the ideas behind the advisory app, to have communities share their knowledge, but also new communities ask questions, post questions, and then get an interaction on that. But yeah, coming back to the statement before, there is a risk of like not finding these tools, so that is a challenge indeed. But I think what we saw, at least in the communities that are now involved in the advisory app, and at the communities that we had in the Energy to Peers project, there is a lot once you start a conversation. So it's not only doing it digital, but also starting the interaction. Then you get new connections, and from there, I know Ilke from Schoonschip, he has quite a day task of all the requests that come to him, and a lot of times it is the same question. So if there's a spot where you can read on other questions, I think that's already a good step forward.
And about the BECoop, there was a particular task of the project in order to replicate the results, and we took the support that we gave in the 4 pilot areas, and we found other 8 cases, the 4 in the pilot countries and the other 4 in other European countries, where there was a very great impact on exchanging ideas, the lessons learned, taking the already existing material of BECoop, and we indeed helped them with the development of their own projects.
Doesn't work anymore. Now it works. In our case, we had 2 networking levels. The one from the municipalities, of course, in which they were interacting, checking best practices, what worked, what not. And at the community level, what we are trying to do is going through to the digital platform to digitalize all this interaction. So one community can say, I have gone through this issue, and it's in the opposite part of the country, but thanks to this digital platform, they can exchange this knowledge in between the different energy communities that are being deployed.
Okay, actually it's not a question, but an extra contribution to the continuity of the one-stop shops. We have a model in the Netherlands where the support, the first advice is free. If that results in a project which is realized with the help of a one-stop shop, then within the whole business case, the cost of the consultant is included, and if the whole project is brought to an end, then that loan which was actually given by the municipality is being returned, and the one-stop shop can start again with that same money. If a project is not realized, then it's lost. But then at least you have a longer continuity. If you do some 15% extra, which the community that comes to a result knows, then they support those projects which will not result in a feasible business case. And another thing regarding the next question, repetition, replication, Ilke is giving 3 tours per week to groups coming to Schoonschip. Interested to know what's happening there. Okay, that's...
Thank you very much. Any comment from that point? If there are no more comments, and just checking the time, and if Marine allows that, I'd like to pose one final question to all of you, and again, optionally, you can jump in and answer. It's more about looking forward and you know, effective follow-ups. There are many things that are interconnected among projects, and that makes sense because we're talking about synergies, and we've established valuable synergies. And sometimes you need to, a project needs to end for at least the externals to fully digest or understand what the assets of that project was all about. But now that reflect on potential follow-ups, we can already see, for example, how the information from the analyzed business models on the BECoop scheme could fit into as information to one-stop shops. Or I think there are some similarities between BECoop and Energy to Peers in terms of you have a readiness level indicator that is rather similar to a self-assessment tool that we had to do so that you assess your current status before running an initiative. Or you have the advisory app, and as Costa said, there is also the knowledge exchange platform. So there are many similarities. So my question, and it's more like critical thinking, it's not right or wrong. According to you, or to everybody here, because I think it's more like an open question, what should future projects in this wider domain definitely do or avoid? And I'm saying that because we've seen cases where projects start from scratch, and I think this is one of the cases where the sisterhood, if that's the right word, or all these projects, when you have more than 20, 25, I think 27 projects, when you have that pool is rather a power. And now that many projects are coming to an end, I'd like to reflect on that and give all of you, you and the audience, the floor to perhaps share a few thoughts on what to do or perhaps what to avoid. Anyone? Okay, let's give the floor to Stefan and then...
Thank you. Yeah, regarding, because it's been in a discussion within our Energy Peers consortium as well, like knowing that there are similar tools out there. An example of a subsidy in the Netherlands, where we're also part of within Spectral, was actually, I think, 1 year in the program. There was kind of like a seminar with similar type of projects, just learning from each other, sharing what your efficient end goal is. And actually from that, a lot of collaboration, so kind of cross-project collaboration started, that a tool was not just developed in like 3 different projects, but one tool across 3 projects. And I think that's something in hindsight could have been, for example, BECoop and Energy Peers could have collaborated in the development of the tools. Yeah, so having that early in the process, I think could be something we can learn from.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Rasmus from European Green Cities in Denmark, part of the Women for Us. I kind of want to chip in with regards to this tools cemetery of tools. Instead of a cemetery, we could, maybe I missed it already from the Commission, but where's the platform for all this knowledge that we have gathered in all of these projects? You could start there. We could have like a short pitch of the projects and stating some of the outcomes, and you could categorize them so we could search on previous one-stop shops and learn from that. I definitely think that we need that, and that could be a great way to build new projects on.
Thanks, that's a fair point. We have some hand raised, but just to correct myself, and perhaps I was a bit dramatic, I wanted to add this flavor. I have witnessed all of these projects. We have been, and I think that's for the sake of, because I think we have some Commission representatives here. We have been in touch with the DG Ener. There is the Energy Communities Repository, and as often as possible, we indeed shared our reports and our tools. And I think there is a shift. So these tools gradually, and I think I'm saying that in the upcoming proposals, there is this policy that, you know, you don't always need to have a website a project dedicated website. Some assets could be hosted by partners that run them. So there is a shift, and we had stuck to this point where all tools would be online, perhaps for 2 years, and there was this kind of vague scenery. But I think there are some turnarounds, and I think this goes on behalf of all the projects here. We were in touch with the GNR, we were in touch with our POs to advertise our assets, and we were also in touch with rescoop.eu, who also serves as a catalyst to re-forward what we have been working on. So, but you're right, and I agree, and there is space for improvement. So we have more hands raised, and I think, yeah, I'll just go.
It's very quickly, there is actually, so the EU is working on having these sources. I mean, there is already some platforms like for citizens and everything where you upload all your material, and there is a few others that they are working on. So there are databases, they are out there, so it's not like lost. And normally, like I think, even in the both for the, I know that for the, again, for the mobility sector, there is for sure. I think for the energy, we also have one, which I can't remember the name right now.
Buildings, build up.
Yes.
Build up for buildings.
Yeah, build up. There is build up for buildings, and there's another one as well that you can search. So all the knowledge that is created should be added that, and then you can search as any database.
Does it look like something from 1998?
Well, I think the biggest problem, I think, is actually it's a database, yes, not great interface in that sense. But I don't know how it is now, because they just changed everything recently, so I haven't been using it recently, so I can't say. But at least it's a database, and there is about the projects and the tools that have been created, and you can put like specific like keywords, and the things will come out. So if you put an energy communities, one-stop shop or something like that, something should come up.
Okay, we have 2 comments from our panelists, and then we'll move for one last question over there.
Okay. One last comment. There's nothing bad for useless things to die. After death, comes new life. So essentially, if something is not useful anymore, and in our digital age, nothing is lost. Everybody will put the tools in some kind of repositories. There are huge numbers of these things, and now it's very easy to look back and find things that are useful. What is useful will survive. The new project proposals will be applied by the communities, will be used. If it's done meticulously, it will survive. Don't worry about good tools. We are living in an age where everybody can find these things. So I'm very, very optimistic. All our projects showcase these tools to various cases, from the 4 demo cases of BECoop plus another 8 follower cases, from the presentation of the replication guide during the RE-SCOOP meeting in May in Athens, from the 56 cases that we supported in W4S. I don't know how many people visited the one-stop shop, and I don't know how many other activities have taken place. This seed has been put into the ground. Now, if the conditions are right, and the seed that we planted in the ground is good, it will bear fruit someday. That's absolutely certain. So you don't have to worry about this thing.
Yeah, in our case, we agree that already this seminar is a step towards that, because when Kostas was explaining the tool, I was thinking that we might upcycle it for another project. So, but our lesson learned in our case, and why it's going to be, it will have like a mid-long-term sustainability. What we would like to say is that properly identify the replication and stakeholders that will ensure this in the proposal stage. And in this case, this is why our OSSs didn't focus on the private sector, but they did focus on the public, because they could somehow incorporate it into the public service that they were already providing. So in other projects as well, not upstairs, this stakeholder identification has been key, even with some from the private sector.
Thanks, Paco. So we have one last question.
It's more of a comment. I'm Dalia Brum from CINEA. So we've been also supporting energy community projects for a while, first through the Horizon 2020 program and now through LIFE. And as it has been said several times now, we have a wealth of tools and of outcomes from all the existing projects. I cannot emphasize enough the need to upload whatever tools you're creating in the energy communities repository, but as you know, the energy communities repository will end soon. But what I would want to say is that then this toolbox that is there will be transferred to the energy communities facility, so that will not be the end of that toolbox. And if you're planning on submitting new proposals, I would encourage you very strongly to then go to that toolbox and really do not replicate what already exists. I think we've been, in the past several calls or several years, we've been quite open to new tool development and these kind of things, because this was an emerging field, but it's no longer, for some technologies, it's no longer an emerging field. There's a lot of material out there, and hopefully in forthcoming calls we would want projects to really focus on using the tools that are there, maybe tweaking them, maybe adapting them, but really focusing on implementation, scaling up, those kind of activities. So yeah, that's all. Thanks.
I call it fate. I'm truly happy that this session ended with few words, nice words from CINEA, so thank you very much.